So today's guest on the Mental Toughness podcast, someone who doesn't just talk about the mental game, he studies it, measures it, makes it real. Our guest today is also known as Mr. Mental Muscle. He's a mental performance coach, cognitive training expert who blends neuroscience with athletic performance. He's worked with pro athletes, elite teams, high-level executives, showing them how to train the brain just like the body through reps, data, and discipline. You're going to enjoy this conversation today with our guest. He's got a conference coming up, the Blue Ocean Summit, which we will talk about, redefining performance industries beyond the horizon. He's the owner of Mind Body One. Our guest today, Nicholas Davenport, my man. Thanks for joining us, bud.
Most definitely. Thank you for having me.
So we came together, man, kind of like this contrarian. It seems like, man, we both came together. I mean, you kind of describe yourself like a lifelong outlier. I feel myself like kind of the same way, but we kind of came together that way. Like, why don't you just like synthesize it for us, man? Like, why would you think like your lifetime outlier, athletics, academics, socially, why would you consider yourself that way?
Funny enough, it just starts from my literal biology because I was always the biggest kid in class. I was like on the pace to be like 6'5", 6'6", and I kind of just stopped growing. So up until high school, I was bigger than everyone. I was faster. I was stronger than everyone. So just off of that, I was an outlier. And there's good and bad because in sports, coaches loved me because I just beat everyone and everything, right? But the bad side is people bully you, which is ironic because I could beat them all up. I'm not a violent person, but it's like why would you pick on someone bigger? But that's where it kind of started. I was just different in that aspect. But I was also like this poetic, love to write poems and stories when I was like first, second grade, writing little love poems and things like that. So that made me different in that aspect. So throughout my years, I always deviated from the norm indirectly. And as I got older, I kind of leaned into it more versus avoiding it.
I love it, man. So you're kind of a Renaissance man, man, writing poetry in class stuff, man. I dig it. I dig it, man. So you were, I mean, so you experienced bullying then growing up?
Oh yeah, it's interesting because, like I said, I was bigger. You would think it's usually the other way around, right? But funny enough, there was kids like picking on me because while the size wasn't the reason, it was more so my thinking. Like I said, I'm not going to be funny, but I was writing poems like for the level they were about what is true love and what is the meaning of life type stuff in like second, third grade. And most kids are talking about playing Super Nintendo. Date myself a little bit for the younger audience, but
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like I wasn't really like I played video games and went outside with my friends. Don't get me wrong, but I really like doing more of the abstract, artsy types. I was a very artsy, fartsy type of guy. Drama club, band. I did all of that stuff. So I was more on that side, even though I was an athlete, and that's why I was like I was a walking contradiction.
Okay. No, no, no. I appreciate that, man. When, like, was race ever a part of that either?
I would say, ironically, yes and no. And what I mean by that is, I would say 90% of my schools that I went through up until college were mixed, like 50-50, 60-40. So I never went to a school that was all white or all black or all Hispanic. I think only one time I had a school that was all black, but I was in there for a year. But basically, if I did experience it, it was never like name calling. It was more so assumptions of on my white group of friends, would it be like, how should Nick really act compared to quote unquote black culture? And on my black group of friends, Nick's not acting black enough. And it was like, I didn't fit in either side. So that goes back to that outlier thing. So I never would say it was like straight up like racism, but it was like stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's going to be the most athletic one. And
Right.
sometimes I was okay, but I also like to do more creative thinking things. You know what I mean? So it's like it was more so that type of stereotyping versus like overt like, oh, we don't like you because you're black or you're not one of us because you don't act black enough. It was more so we assume you're this, and then I was never what they assumed.
Yeah, exactly. So that conditional thinking, and then that would, you'd break that down pretty quick.
Hmm.
Nice, man. When, Man, I'm excited to have this conversation, man, because also with like business owners in the mental training space. Number one, sports psychology, like sports psychologists, like they don't even know what to call themselves, man. Like I'm even seeing it like the same conversations happen year after year after year. Number one, the field is growing, right? That's okay. The field's growing. Oh, wow. What a great field that you're in. But at the same time, same conversations in terms of clinical and consulting necessarily don't always play well together. And you've experienced that firsthand. I've experienced that. But talk to us about, man, just the field, like in general, what is your specialty? What's like your niche, man? Where do you fit?
So niche, I always joke that my niche is having multiple niches, but I'll explain why I
Right.
say that. Because a lot of people don't know, especially on LinkedIn, I get some flack there because people don't know my true background. So I spent a good 2.5 years more on the clinical route first. I went to school to be a mental health counselor, and then I switched to sports psych for the master's, and then I then enrolled in a PsyD program to be a clinical psychologist, and I did that for another year. So I have almost 3 years of clinical experience. So I built on that path. And when people hear me talk, they always want to like play that card of, oh, you're not this or that. It's like, well, I kind of learned both. So when I
So,
label myself, I actually, yeah,
so what, like, because I was going down that route as well, but I just knew I'm not good at this. Like, I don't want to work with general population, man. I don't want to work with Gen Pop. Like, I want to work with a specific population, and that's why I went that route. Like, what was it for you in terms of not going that side D route?
it's part of that. It was more so the first easiest answer is the clinical side, obviously, and most people know, it involves a lot more of like traumatic experience, severe mental illness. And while that is very important to address, I felt personally my talents and skill set could have done it. But at the same time, it would have been limited because there's just things that you will never get to from a performance side because they're dealing with that. You can't try to put a band-aid on a broken leg, right? So that's the first simplest reason I would say. But the second reason was just, and this might be controversial, I saw that the type of philosophies I didn't mesh with. How do I word this? Basically, my frame of thought, I've had a very great upbringing. My father was a police, my mom worked in the school board, so I always had what I needed. But I had a lot of experience in my life that made me mentally tougher, where I don't really play the whole, lack of a better word, touchy feely stuff. And I know part of the clinical side, you're going to have to be a little more softer with your words, your tone, and sports and performance and tactical. Not saying I can talk any way I want, but I can be a little more direct. So I didn't really like that. The philosophy kind of got more on the, it's the, what's the word? They'll say things like, I need a work-life balance or a me day or self-care. And that kind of rhetoric wasn't really what I jived with. So not saying that's the whole industry, but I saw a lot more. This was like 2014, 2015. So it's about a decade ago. So around that time, that's what it looked like to me. And personally, I didn't see myself fitting in with that type of philosophy. So that's
Yeah.
why I got out.
Yeah. No, love it, man. When I mean we always talk about hinge moments. So in 2014, you're 25, you have a hinge moment. Talk to us about that.
Oh yeah. So around that same time, I was getting this coursework in the clinical side, right? I had a newborn daughter. Her name's Tiana. She's now 11. I just went to her first volleyball game the other day,
How crazy
and
is
she's
that?
getting
How
tall.
fast
She's
that
like,
goes, man?
right? And I know you have children and daughters, and she's about 5'4" now at 11. So yeah, maybe she'll be one of those. Maybe she'll keep growing. But basically, she had just been born in June, and I got hired to be a teacher in July at a school around here in South Florida where I'm from. And it's a predominantly Black school, very high behavior issues, very low scores, very low funding. So I took the job because I had a family to feed, right? Me and her
Right.
mother are no longer together, but during that time we were, and I had to do what I had to do, like, man up, right? So I took the job, even though it wasn't a bad opportunity because I'm from that area. So it seemed like the perfect fit. Like I said, dealing with behavior issues, low funding, I had to do a lot of extra stuff, like coming earlier, staying later, buying my own supplies. So about 3 months into that job, around, I forget the exact day, but it was like October, let's say 15th. It was a teacher's planning day. So my daughter's almost or just turned 4 months at this point. And I got brought into the teacher's or the principal's office and blindsided. I'm smiling like, hey, principal, how's it going? And then they were like, please sit down. And then my tone kind of, I was like, okay, what's about to happen? And they all looked like it was two other administrators. They all looked like they had lost their dog. So I'm thinking like, was I really had no idea what was about to happen. So they said, unfortunately, we'd have to let you go. And they gave me a piece of paper that says I resign. And looking back, I don't know the legal ramifications looking back 10 years ago, 11 years ago, but I had to sign it or they would basically fire me and I wouldn't be I'll be a no hire. So I signed it to resign. They let me go. That was my last day. I did all my grading. I packed up all my stuff. Every other teacher's like, Nick, where are you going? What happened? And I just said, they let me go. And they're like, what? They were surprised because I put my heart in everything I do. So teaching these kids, a lot of them came from where I grew up. Some of them were young Black men who wanted to be NFL players. And I would tell them, hey, I didn't make it, but there's always a route you can make. So I was trying to be that
Right.
light of hope that there's many ways. So I was very surprised they let me go. And I love teaching. I love educating. So that moment started a trajectory that I'm very grateful for because that doesn't happen. Not saying I don't become this, but it definitely would have been delayed a while because after that job I was let go. I applied for 57 other positions after that between that was October. So between October and March, I applied for 57. Out of 57 applications, I got 10 callbacks. Out of 10 callbacks, I got 3 interviews. Out of 3 interviews, I got 0 hires. While I was doing that, I had to make money. So I'm working at Target. My little brother works at Target as a cashier. He gets me a job there. They're like, you want to be a manager? You got degrees, da da da. I'm like, nah, I just want to get something to make some money so I can still search for work.
Yep.
So I'm unloading trucks at midnight or not midnight, 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. I'm unloading trucks during Thanksgiving to February. So this is the biggest rush. And I'm kind of strong. I'm 6'1", 220. So I'm doing my thing. And basically they love me because I work very fast. I'm strong. I'm unloading all the trucks. And they're like, hey, go to this department, go to this department. And eventually got to the point I'm like, why am I still here? So I was like, you know what? I got an idea. I'm gonna pitch a program for mental and physical performance for the stockroom workers to be out of the box. Like, hey, I'm already here working, and my manager, his name was Big Mike, he was like 6'5". He loved it, so he took it to the store manager. I forget her name, but she was like, oh yeah, cool, and handed it back to me. And at that very moment, I said, you know what? Why am I here? But the main takeaway, what that job did for me more than anything, because obviously $11 an hour ain't paying no real bills. It was I can listen to like audio stuff because it's at night, no customers. I'm just
Right.
loading trucks. So I would listen
Feeding your
to
mind.
ebooks, exactly. Ebooks, podcasts, whatever I can listen to videos that could educate me more on neuroscience, psychology, mindset, whatever it is. And that's what I was doing. And that gave me a lot of hours. That's like 4 or 5 hour shifts. I'm getting all this information. So that was probably the biggest takeaway outside of like, just grinding and doing something that was kind of beneath my skill set. But it gave me a platform to do that stuff, which gave me
Yeah.
the ability now build on that. So that
Yeah.
was kind of like the big hinge because it sucked money wise, but it gave me ability to learn more and do more.
Yeah. Um, I've always found like people are always looking for the secret. Like what's the secret or what's the one thing? If there was one thing I could point to, it would be the total immersion into what you're doing. You know, what I mean, and I've seen that before, but that's kind of what you did, right? I mean, you had total immersion every shift, man. You're marinating your mind with all these different areas and exponentially, that's how we get better, right? I mean, people that lock them. I mean, when boxers are going to go training, right? They're not training, man, in Barbados, like at the beach, right? They're in the basement, man. I mean, they are locking themselves away, immersing themselves. So that makes a lot of sense, man, about um, marinating your mind and immersing yourself when it comes to that.
Yeah, outside of just even the marinating, like, and I guess aside, I didn't mention this. Um, your book, The Hinge, was literally one of the books I read around that time
Now
too,
you're
and that's
talking,
how
man.
and that's how we indirectly got on this trajectory to meet each other. But yeah, so I guess not shameless plug because I know you've written like a dozen books since then, but that was one of the first books I read, and also the mental toughness for golf. I think I told you that story
Yeah.
personally when we were talking about how I came across that book. So you
Uh,
indirectly were a part of that journey.
Man, I can't tell you, man, how that makes me feel warm. You know, I really appreciate that because I don't get that all the time. You know what I mean? I don't get many pats on the back for that one. So appreciate that, man. I'm glad that could help. So tell me though, what was the reason? Like, why did they let you go?
Oh yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. So like I said, lower you know how schools are associated to income, and income gives you less resources. So basically, they didn't have enough money. And you know the old saying, last to come, first to go.
Right.
So out of 7 new hires they got that semester, that school year of 2014, out of 7, they let go of 4. So almost half or more than half. And I was one of them. And the funny thing is, one of the people they kept, she even said to me as I was walking around with my box leaving, she was like, why did they let you go? They should have let me go before you. Cause she was kind of like teaching because it was something to do. Her husband made good money. She straight up told me like, I would rather have kept you instead of me. So I don't know the full reason, but budget cuts was a part of it.
Hmm.
And like I said, and I think also because the grade I taught 8th grade history. So I was in a field that isn't as needed like math and science. Those are more harder stuff. So I think they just combined all the 8th grade classes to one. and did it like that. So
Yeah.
that I think that played a factor too. That history, I was a history teacher because I just love history in general. My obviously background in psychology, but I just love history
Yeah.
and
What
facts and dates.
what kind of history you like, man?
So personally, um, if I get super specific, presidents. That actually, fun fact, I won a competition in elementary school. It was called academic games, and they had different topics. And the one I did the best in was U.S. presidents. So specifically U.S. history, but presidents. But I love it
President,
all though.
presidents, like so just facts, figures about presidents,
Hmm.
vice
Yep.
presidents too.
So vice president, I'm a little more shaky with. So I'm much stronger in the presidents, their terms,
Okay.
the order of them, their
Can I can
biggest
I
accomplishments.
can I hit you
Quiz
with a
me.
question then?
Let's see.
All
Let's see
right.
if I still got it in me.
All right, man. Here we go. Which president became the impetus for the seventh inning stretch at baseball games?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I don't know this off the top, but I'm gonna use some context because I know the years
Yep,
and I know baseball a little bit. So it was probably between the early 1900s and the 1930s, more than likely.
that's
Am I
true.
am I close? Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm doing some deductive reasoning right now. So from what I know of that president, so that was between William McKinley and Franklin Roosevelt. So that's number 26 to number
And
30.
hold on a second. I hope I'm right on terms of the years, man. All I know is the
Okay.
president that stood
Okay.
up, that he stood up, everyone else stands up, and then hence the seventh inning stretch, right? But I don't know
Okay.
if that is exact years. But go ahead,
Okay.
man.
Never mind.
I'm gonna
So
let you
that
I'm gonna
might,
let you take the
I'm still going to assume it's the early 1900s, like before the
yeah.
40s. So
Oh yeah,
I'm going
yeah,
to take
yeah,
a
yeah,
wild,
yeah, for
I'm
sure.
going to take a wild guess. Can I give you two? I'm going to give two,
Yeah,
one on the
yeah.
higher end, one on the lower end. I'm going to say Teddy Roosevelt
It wasn't Teddy
or,
Roosevelt.
okay, so a little bit, I'm going to go a little bit later. I'm going to say Franklin Roosevelt.
It wasn't a Roosevelt, no. And
Okay.
I'm pretty sure this was Taft.
Oh, okay. So that was number 27, who was right after
Okay.
Theodore Roosevelt.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, you got me
Yeah.
on that one. So I didn't know that fact.
Man, that's impressive, man. That's good. All right,
But
man, your
Taft was
turn.
the
Hit
Supreme
me with
Court
one, man.
justice.
What's
He
that?
was, did you hear what I just said?
No.
Okay, so what was Taft's job after his presidency?
He was a salesman.
Afterwards?
After his presidency, he was a salesman. Oh, what did he
Oh,
do
I was
after
going to say
that?
Supreme Court. Yeah,
I don't know.
Supreme Court.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, so he's one of the few presidents that went into politics after politics. So, but yeah, and he was the largest president.
Yeah, oh,
Everyone, I
yeah.
think most people know that one. He was 330 pounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, but you got me on the 7 inch stretch. I didn't know that one.
Go ahead. You can
And
ask me one, man.
I actually like baseball. Okay,
I hope
who
I
was the?
hope I'm right on that one, man, because it's been a long time since I've asked, but I'm pretty sure it's it.
I'm gonna go with this one. This is kind of tricky, but not. Who was the first president to die while in office?
First president to die while in office, so he got inaugurated and then died.
Hmm.
That was Buchanan.
Yeah, James Buchanan.
No, no, that'd be William Henry Harrison.
Got him. Almost no one gets that. They always say Lincoln.
Yeah, William Henry
Almost
Harrison.
everyone says Lincoln because they ignore that Harrison didn't get killed. That's why I think they say Lincoln. Lincoln was the first assassinated, but William Henry Harrison was the first
Yeah,
to
there we
die
go.
while and it was 30 days after his
Yeah,
inauguration. And yeah, so
yeah, it was
good
good,
stuff.
man. Because I remember he caught pneumonia, like refused to wear a jacket or anything at his inauguration.
In the cold for 3 hours, he was in the cold speaking, and he died of 30 days later.
Yeah, yeah. See, I'm a history guy too, man. I
And
love it.
so I think you have to be good at history to do what we do because a lot of what we do isn't just saying interventions, it's referencing analogies to past things, present things, future things.
Yeah.
So I think being good at history is almost a prerequisite to be good mental performance,
I just thought of this, man. You
my
should,
opinion.
yeah, totally, man. Absolutely. With Yeah, because with that said, man, I mean, I will go back. I'll look at some of like Doc Councilman's, the famous swim coach there at IU. I mean, his tenets for sports psychology, I mean, the just the things that Wooden bought for sports psychology, you know what I mean? Like the fundamentals never change, you know what I mean? And I look at that as like the same for in history, man. I gotta be able to study that. with but I just thought of this question, man. For the Blue Ocean Summit, you should bring some. I'll bring some door prizes with me.
Hmm.
We should have some of these hey presidential like trivia questions like during the breakout. I mean during the breaks,
Hmm.
right? That would be a good one, man. Just
Now
an
I'm with
idea,
that
man.
because
Just
I
an
did want
idea.
to have that. No, no, I like that because I did want to have some intermissions because some of the events like yourself are a little longer speaking, some are shorter. So the shorter ones, I would have something like that follow it.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that'd
some
be
people
good,
their
man.
workshops like 25 minutes, so it could be followed by like a segment where you gotta shock the brain to get, make sure you're all awake still.
That's it, man. That's it. Um, well, can I ask you then a sport context question? History?
Sure. Let's see.
With this one's opinion, but if you were to take a 1 day performance, so 1 day performance of the best, we'll just say like the best historical sport performance of 1 day, like what would you pick? What would you say it was?
Hmm. I don't think any sport, and this would be like the poster child for ultimate performance this day.
Yeah, I mean anything you want. I mean, you could say, hey, this was Michael Jordan's the flu game, something like that. I mean, anything you want.
Hmm. I'm gonna use one that I like to use this one a lot, and I think it's pretty well known. But I like it for the reasons people used to talk about it. Roger Bannister, the first 4 minute mile, sub 4 minute mile,
Yeah,
because I like that one, even though it's not like as prolific because that record has been obliterated by even high schoolers now. But it was like one of those things where it's like the quote unquote it can't be done type of moment, and it shifted people's thinking on like once it's done, can it be done now? I actually have a name I use like a quote I say I call it the fear factor effect, right? Because usually when the first person does it, it breaks the ice and everyone else does it. And if you ever watch the show Fear Factor, usually the first person that goes loses because everyone else is like, oh, it's not that scary. And then they keep going. And then the next person breaks it. Then the next person breaks it. So in that sense, because this is gonna sound crazy, I'm actually bad with sports history. I'm a horrible athlete in the sense of knowing sport history. Because I was one of those kids that I played it. I loved what I played. I did what I did. And outside of that, I was worried about my art, my
yeah.
writing, my music. So that was kind of my thing. So I'm actually not as good at sport history
That's
as I
still a
am.
good one, man. That's a good one. Now,
Who
I
would you
always
pick?
I always say our worst moment ends up becoming our best moment. And what the impetus for Roger Bannister breaking that was him finishing fourth at the Olympics in 52.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And then he set it on his mind.
Just there.
He's like, I'm gonna do this. You know, same thing. Like if you don't get let go, like the path's different. You know what I'm saying? Like the worst moment becomes our best moment. That's the irony of life. Man, what do I think the best one is? I think the best 1 day sport performance is 1964. Billy Mills winning the gold medal in Tokyo at the Olympics in the 10,000 meters. And the reason why is because of no one knew who he was, not only even on our own team.
Oh wow.
He asked for shoes, and they told him, "We only have shoes for those that can medal." Imagine that today. Um, so when he wins, this is how unknown he was. When he wins the gold medal, um, one of the reporters come up to him. The very first question they asked him was, "Who are you?" He ran a minute faster than he's ever ran before in his life. Now, how someone at the top of their level can they run in 10,000 meters? Can they run a minute faster? Still beyond me. But when you watch that video, and the video of it is him sprinting to beat the past Olympic gold medalist and the world record holder, and when he sprints past them, you see it, and it's like it's a hand of God. You know what I mean? It was like how does that happen? It looks like he just started the race. You know what I mean? And I just still think, and then him coming back, being a Native American, man, still encountered so much racism like during that time. And I think like him being able to do that I still think that's what I always get back to. I think that's the single greatest sport performance, 1 day performance that there was.
I wasn't familiar with that one, and I'm a track guy, so I'm definitely looking to that one.
Oh yeah, I would always use it, man. And you watch that when you watch that finish too, the radio commentators on there too. I mean, it pumps you up, man. Anything that gives you goosebumps, right, has to be pretty special. So yeah, you dig that one,
Mhm.
man. Love it. Love it. Um, no,
Good
it's good,
stuff.
man. Talk to us, man, about Mind Body One, man, about your company.
So I guess that segues into another Hinge moment because going off the same timeline of losing the job, 57 applications that didn't get me anywhere. Fast forward to a year after, I start working with a psychologist. His name is Dr. Rick Harris, and I haven't talked to him probably since 2017 when I started working with him. But basically, he set me on the trajectory would become Mind Body One because he owned several addiction centers down here in Florida, South Florida, in the Fort Lauderdale area. And he basically brought me on to be his assistant and do something called neurofeedback. And at the time, I had no idea what neurofeedback was. So up until this point, my background was mostly on what I did in the clinical work and just mental skills training. So I had really no really perception of the neurocognitive performance that was not in my wheelhouse yet until 2015. So I worked under him and I did all his intakes, cognitive testing with the people who just got out of detox that we're doing. We did personality assessments, and then we did the neurofeedback. So I learned a bunch of skills. And the funniest thing was, he was like, "You have a master's in sports psychology. This is beneath your pay grade because it was 11.50 an hour." And mind you, I had a newborn daughter. So, but no, I told him, I just want to learn. And this
Yep.
is something people don't. I hate to be that kids these days because I either employ or have interns, and I don't see this a lot as I would like to. But I just said I want to learn. Now, did it mean that was the only thing I did? No, I had other side hustles. I was always trying to make money some other way. But 1150 is not going to break the bank. But what I got was the skill sets that I never got. And throughout that, the first year there, I did it for almost 2 years. The first year, eventually the 1150 did get a little not enough. But he suggested, since you have a background in sports psychology, exercise science, all this stuff, you should make a program for the clients, recovery people in recovery, and he called it the Mind Body Connect. So I'm like, okay. So I pitched it to him. He loved it. He gave it to his board of directors, and they were going to approve it because he had like 4 addiction centers. So he wanted this throughout. So I'm like, this is a good pay opportunity to increase. So unfortunately, around that time, they went through some kind of insurance audit because dealing with addictions, the insurance has to cover things. So whatever that was took a lot of their time. So let's say this was June 2016. That got put on hold pretty much to June 2017
Mm-hmm.
or June 15, sorry, 2015. And that got put on hold in pretty much to June 2016. So I'm still making 1150. I'm still doing odd jobs. Me and my daughter's mom unfortunately didn't make it. We've broken up. So now I'm like, yeah, this it's starting to get to the point now. I got to figure out how to get more money from this, but not in the way of like, hey, I know my worth. Give me more. It was more so, Dr. Harris. I was just like, remember what we talked about a year ago? He's like, yeah, what do you want me to do? I was like, well, I want to revisit it. And then he asked me how much per hour or per session. And I came up with a number, I think it was like 45 or 50. And then I hung up the phone. And then someone overheard me. She was one of our nutritionists. And she was like, that's not enough. And like, what do you mean? And this, so she was like, "What are you doing? Is that worth what you're asking?" I'm like, "Probably not." So I called him back and he's like, "So what do you want me to do?" And it's kind of one of those pauses where we both didn't know what to say because he obviously is a business owner. He's not trying to give away too much money, but he wants to give me what I'm worth. And me, I'm like, "What should I ask?" But I don't want to be outlandish. So this is a business skill I've learned. And for those who are watching, be silent until the other person talks. So he responds and he says, "How about this? Since you're master level, I can basically prorate you for the amount that I pay one of my therapists. And basically, it won't be like a full salary, but for what it prorated to, it made sense for me. It made sense for him. We both walked away happy. And I love to say the best deals are when both sides can walk away somewhat mutually happy. Like it can't be perfect, but I got basically what I wanted, more money, more stability, and he got what he wanted, more services that didn't break his bank. And that led
Mm-hmm.
to Mind Body One or Mind Body Connect, which was a group that we did with all the facilities. I would bounce around. So at first I was just in one facility and now I'm at four. So I'm getting more practice being better. So I would do like workshops where I would go over like the traditional mental skills, goal setting, self-talk, but then I'll do some fun like fitness games that had to do reaction drills with cones. And I had no technology at this point. So this is all like low tech, very hands-on stuff. So I did that for about a year.
And then he started downsizing. So when you downsize, guess what? People start getting cut. And slowly but surely, I see this person leave, that person leave, this whole segment leaves. And I'm like, wow, I'm still here. So I'm getting kind of like, maybe I'm going to make it. And eventually, guess what happens? It was my turn. So he called me up and said, hey, Nick, don't need to come in today. We're gonna have to let you go. He seemed like he didn't want to do it, but business is business. And I thanked him. I said, thanks. And this was at this point, this was all the way a year later, 2017, about June. So that's where enter what would now become Mind Body One. I just took that same premise and I had a former business partner and I said, I got two names, Mind Body RX or Mind Body One. He said, I don't like RX because it sounds like medicine. And I'm like, you're right. I don't want to conflate that. So I chose Mind Body One and the rest was history. And that was the transition to starting a business, even though I had done like solopreneur type stuff here and there, like doing coaching sessions here and there, fitness training here and there, had a facility where I would do a mixture of both, but it was never like a full, okay, now I'm trying to grow this where it can become something more than me,
Hmm.
like hiring people and all that. So it started off with just me and my business partner and one of my best friends, and we would just go out to different companies or organizations trying to say, hey, we can do some mental training that mixes fitness where we do workouts like traditional squats, jump rope, sprints, agility, but then we have like cognitive training stations where they do like an iPad drill. We had these heavy bags that they had like numbers and colors that they had to do different combos based off of reaction. And eventually we would get something called Fit Light, which is a reaction light system that we now partner with. And that was what Mind Body One was in 2017. It was a fitness workout that had a mental skills portion at the beginning where we teach you like a concept, and then we do reaction and other drills in between the fitness sets as like an active recovery. That was the first
Hmm.
iteration of Mind Body One back in 2017. Now, granted, it's not that exactly anymore, but that was the basis for it.
Hmm. What are you most proud of, man, from starting that to where you've developed along, this journey?
I'm gonna say I'm proud. Is I guess it's not cliche, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Not giving up because throughout that journey from 2017 to now, even though it started before then, but just 2017, the official start, almost a decade, it wasn't profitable even in the slightest sense until like 2022, 2021-ish. So that was like 4 years of doing something with little to no return. I was working as an adjunct professor so I could supplement, life
Yep.
stuff. Obviously, I got to live. But I would say I put more hours into the business, but that had the littlest return. I'll go teach and make X amount of money a month, but then do double that work for the business and make less than that. And that looks insane, like outside looking in. But I'm proud that I didn't give up because there were so many times where I could have said, and I did think about it, man, I should try to apply for the school board again because after those 58 rejections, funny enough, a few years later, the school board got so desperate for people down here, they started saying you don't even need a full 4 year degree. They were letting 60-hour associate level degree holders become teachers. So
Hmm.
it's a polar opposite. They were hiring anybody when I needed it, when I had to feed my family. But now it's like, and called me petty. I was like, know what? I don't care now. That's y'all problem because logic is like, oh, it's stable, but it's not what I'm trying to build right now.
Right.
I can't, like, I hate to say it, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Either
Hmm.
gonna do the stable thing and make the money and live comfortably to whatever that means for you. For me, it just meant feeding my family. I'm not lavish by any means. I wear stuff like this every day. I don't buy fancy shoes or anything. Or the other side is do the thing that feeds you less, but when it gets there, it's what you wanted and what you set out to do. And obviously, I chose the latter. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's something I'm proud of that I didn't quit because there were so many opportunities that I could have where it would have made my life easier, but then I wouldn't have been talking to you right now.
that's right. You know, when I talk to, and I'll share this like when I speak, but some battles, and this one came from Andre Agassi's strength coach, Gil Reyes, and he said this to me, and he said some battles aren't worth fighting even if you win. And I think of that as like, okay, battles like fights with my wife or something like that, right? Like when I win that argument, like I don't win that argument. You never win that argument. But the more powerful part of that statement is some battles are worth fighting even if you lose. And I always held on to that one because I was like, yeah, man, like a lot of people just don't want the shot. They don't want the ball.
Hmm.
And that's what I hear you saying, man. Is like, look, if you keep taking the shot enough, right? I mean, the law of averages, man, it's gonna work out, man. And if you keep at it and keep staying with it and never give up, like the shot's gonna go in, man. It's gonna go in. But you got to keep willing to take that shot, right? So even if, and I always wanted the shot because, like, look, even if I'm gonna fail, Doing what I love, that's the part where I was like, I can deal with that. You know what I mean? I can find still a way to make that work, as opposed to doing something I don't necessarily want to do just because of the outcome.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that because going back to the whole doing what you love, I know it's like you never work a day in your life, but it kind of is true, right? Like I have days where there's things about this job and running a business that aren't my favorite, but I don't complain only because I know it's what I love. Like doing accounting stuff or doing my payroll or doing scheduling for my employees. That's not fun and sexy. I don't post that on LinkedIn or Instagram. But guess what? I never complain about it because I know it's encompassed in the fact that Mind Body One's vision and message that started with just me formerly unloading trucks that became something where we have contracts with whole police organizations. Like that's a story in itself. But basically, it's like that became all that. And like you said, it had to keep going in the averages of eventually that shot's going in. But unfortunately, I guess most people they want the quick gratification, instant gratification, and I get that you need reinforcement. You can't do nothing without reward, but there's a level to what the things we're doing. You kind of have to be okay with that, not getting the
Hmm.
reward for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed, man. And I look at it too. It's just like, when it's all said and done, is more said than done. And I kind of like, I love like when people have a nice safe job and they're posting that stuff like, hey man, you got to be no risk it, no biscuit. You know what I mean? Where it's like, what have you done? You know what I mean? Like you're not a business owner, you're not an entrepreneur. And it's easy, but it's like, man, when you see that in there, that's the part that I love about the field and coaching in general is people that are willing to put themselves out there. You're going to be willing to take the hits. That's cool, man. That's fine by me because that means you're doing something. If you're not getting the hits, man, if you're not getting a hate, what are you really doing? You know what I mean?
So I want to ask you then on that note
Yeah.
is, do you think, and I made a video about this a few months ago on my YouTube channel about having more skin in the game as practitioners, meaning like you said, like how many stuff or things you have you done that put you in a situation where the risk to fail was much higher, not safe, for you to be telling athletes or executives or tactical, whoever it is, to do these things? Because I'm not saying you have to have the hardest life, like, oh, my life I had to struggle. No, but how do I sound telling you this when my biggest struggle was getting home for dinner in time? You know what I mean? Like not saying you have, like I said, you don't have to have the hardest life, but people can pick up on that when you have that little that grit in your voice. Like they can feel like, okay, you may have done some things that you had to really make it through, and I can identify with that because people can pick up on those type of cues, right? At least I think so.
Yeah, indeed, man. Um, I mean, I left, I always had the idea of what I wanted to do, and the vision doesn't change, but the path changes. And so I left being a professor, two kids under the age of 5, with no background, with no backup, no trust fund to hang back of. You know what I mean? I mean, and when I would go out there on the PGA Tour and I would hang my shingle out there and introduce myself, like I doubled my client base my very first week out there, not knowing anybody, man. So I still had zero clients, and I'm still willing to put myself back out there because that is just what it takes. It does take what it takes when it comes to that stuff. So it's like, man, many months from 2011 to 16, 17, I wasn't gonna make it. You know what I mean? It's like, man, we don't have it. I gotta hit the back. I mean, whatever that escape button was, there wasn't one, but it was like, I mean, we're gonna have to. And and man, I got a speaking engagement. I'd get a golfer that called me up. It always worked out. And I wouldn't say that was me, man. I preface that by saying, look, there was a higher power that was involved there. Um, because it wasn't anything I did, you know what I mean? But it was just keep putting myself out there. And then when that happens enough, man, it's just trusting it. And then when you can trust it, I'm letting go of all the crap. I don't know what the past's going to look like, but I just know it's going to work out. And that's the part that I think you just got to have, right? Like it all works out in the end. If it happens, it's just not the end. Just got to keep staying in it. That's the most powerful skill, man. That
No,
was
I
that was
agree.
mine,
That's
in a nutshell, man. That was mine.
mhm,
So
nice.
yeah, I don't know. We get on that tangent, man, but I mean, I love that stuff. But I mean,
No,
I'm
that's
always like, hey. that's why I get back to that quote, man. Some battles are worth fighting, even if you lose, man. If you're willing to take that shot, man. I mean, that's and I don't always look at it, it's like, the lessons you learn. Like, I'm not into that necessarily. Like, I do get that, but I'm in like, I just think when you're doing something that you're meant to do, it speaks to you in your soul, and you're just better at it. You're just better at it. You're willing to
Mhm.
take that extra 5 minutes to immerse yourself in that podcast. You're willing to experiment with a different creative idea, right? You're willing to go talk to that person because you're all in. If you're not all in, you're just in the way, right? And some people want that, man. Some
Mhm.
people just want it as a moonlighting job, and that's cool. But it's like, look, man, when you're going to be all in on that stuff, you are going to get hurt. You are going to get fired. That's just part of it, man. It's just, I think when you go through it, kind of that fear factor part, when you go through it and you just realize, all right, that's the worst thing that can happen. All right, I'm gonna get fired. Look, man, it's gonna happen, right? Because there's two coaches, man. Those coaches that have been fired and those coaches that will be fired. There's very rarely are there any coaches that haven't been fired, man. It's the same thing with this field and with coaching, and that's just part of it, man. But I just like when you wake up in the morning, it's all you think about when you're going to bed and you're thinking about it. And then when you kind of live that out through your life, it just comes out. That's the way I see it, man. How about you?
No, I agree because it made me think of something where the field in general, and this is maybe another topic, but it made me think of this is it's an academic like preach or tutorial we get between our undergrad to grad school and then into early practice, but the grind itself isn't that. So it's like for me, I like you said, I actually everything you said I do. Like I do the extra work. I learn the extra things. I try the things that might not work. Like I always joke, I say I've attempted more or I failed more times than most people have even attempted. And I pride myself as a competitor, going back to me being an outlier. One of the things I do know, I'm gonna say this kind of not arrogantly, but very few people I know are gonna do as much as I do in a day. And I'm like Kobe Bryant with that. You're not going to outwork me. I'm not the
Yep.
fastest. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the smartest. I'm not the whateverest. But I do know one thing, and it's what I can control, my work ethic. Because I joke all the time with people when I go to where I'm at right now, my facility where I shoot content and do meetings with my team. I'll drive here at say 7:52, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to get there by 8. And the funny thing is, I'm the boss, but I hold myself to these standards. And I do get mad, not like beat myself up mad, but if I get there at 8:03, that means I didn't get up on time or I linger too long at the house. And it's like I hold myself to these type of standards because this is what makes you better. And
That's right.
that seeps into everything I do. Like everything I do, I look at it as I'm going to post more content than you. I'm going to make more apps than you. I'm going to make more workshops. Like I may not be all that, but I'm going to try. And not
Yep.
in a like a toxic way of like, I can't stand you guys. I'm better than you. It's more so, hey, we're all colleagues, but just like in the NFL or the NBA or NHL, whatever it is, we're still competitors, right? We'll dap each other after the game, but through those 48 minutes or 9 innings or whatever it is, my goal is to beat you. And that's how I look at everything I do. And it's kind of work for me. And I'm not saying you have to be to my OD, as people call it, OD level, but you gotta be on that like kind of aggressive side. And I guess to bring it full learn these sciences, learn these publications, which I've done too. But my joke is, I know what you know, but you don't know what I know, and that's kind of how I look at it when I be competitive because who you want on your team. So yeah.
Yeah, that's right, man. Yeah, I mean, talk to us. I want to talk to about the vision, um, the Blue Ocean Summit. But before we get to that part, man, I want you to describe like what was it about mainstream sports psychology that you kind of distance yourself from?
So I'm gonna say I was like Rudolph. They wouldn't let me play in the reindeer games. Like I went to the first conference in 2017.
And
I
where
graduated with
what
my I
which
start
one was
okay,
that?
Orlando.
That was Orlando. Okay.
So it was right down the street, 3 hours away. So I was like, let me just drive up there. And I drove back and forth daily because I had other stuff to do down here, coincidentally. So I got into the field 2012. I took a break when I had my daughter, finished my master's 2015. So I joined ASP in 2015 as a member and had some internship opportunities. I got, I think, 4 opportunities and none of them came through. I was rejected. And since social media was getting more popular then, I was kind of nosy checking up on who they picked. And I'm like, ah, I know I could have been better than that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's not like I hate it, but I call it spiteful motivation. Like, you know what? I'm gonna make it so you're gonna wish you picked me.
Yeah.
So I said, let me
It's a
get better
receipt.
then. Let me go. Yeah, so let me get better. So going to 2017, the first conference is around the time all the stuff I just told you with the addiction centers was finishing up and Mind by the One was just officially launched. It all came full circle. I was at the conference in Orlando holding a Fit Light box, and I was literally setting them up randomly in the hallways at the hotel. It was at the Buena Vista Resort. And I would just start doing drills and say, hey, check this out, try it. And some people would, some people wouldn't. They like, what the heck is this guy doing? Who are you? So some people gave me their cars. All right, I like what you're doing. Cool stuff. And some people just looked at me like, huh, kind of turned their nose up. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I kind of left a bad taste in my mouth from 2017. My membership lapsed to 2018. From 2018 to 2023, I did nothing related. I didn't check any message boards. I didn't go on any forum, nothing related. I wasn't even on LinkedIn like that. I did nothing related. I was just working on making this business better. So fast forward 2023, I say, you know what? I got to play nice in the sand because I understand the powers that be. There's a level where you got to give and take. Now, it wasn't like I didn't like it. It's just that I know that there was some differences. So I went in 2023 as a vendor. So I paid X amount of money to set up a booth. But I'm like I said, I'm Blue Ocean to the day I die. I didn't know what Blue Ocean was then in
Hmm.
2023, but I was like, I'm gonna set up a podcast station at my booth. I'm not selling anything because every other vendor was like selling an app or
Right.
I think Western States was there or they're pushing some kind of thing to get signups or purchases. I just said, hey, here's the apps I created. Here's a podcast. You want to sit down? If you're a student, let's talk about how being a student has affected you in this industry. If you're a practitioner, let's talk about that. If you're a teacher, let's talk about that. So out of 1,000 people attended, I'll say I probably talked to 100. Out of
Yeah.
100, I probably interviewed seven at my podcast. So I had these fancy SMB mics set up, very nice. And no one wanted to sit down. And I was right in front of the main event hall. So you had to pass me. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try again in 2024. 2024 comes, that's last year, literally a year ago to this date in Vegas. I flew my whole team out. I pay, I said, we're going out as a squad now because that time my team was smaller and more so contractors. Now I have people, they're still contractors, but they might as well be employees, but legally they're contractors. So I like, we're all going out there as a team. We had our shirts on. It was a great thing. Everyone had a Mind Body One badge. Amazing. Have another booth set up. And this one, it was in front of the keynote section. So I'm like, oh yeah, we're definitely gonna get traction. So once again, 1,000 people attend this event, give or take. I probably talked to 150 this year. Out of 150, maybe 13 sat down interview. And I'm like, wow, another event, another money spent out of my pocket. The powers that be didn't really customer service wise, I think it could have been better. It was kind of like I was just there, have at it. So I was kind of like, you know what? You keep doing this, return on investment is not there. So this year I was on the fence all the way up until maybe September about doing it. Because I'm like, you know what? I got some more things to offer, but I don't want to be Rudolph begging to be in the reindeer games. I said, Santa Claus is calling me because I got all these opportunities down here in South Florida that are picking up. And it's a good thing I didn't go because now I have a meeting this week because a meeting I had last week that if I wasn't here, I couldn't have been able to take it.
Right.
Not saying I wouldn't have gotten an opportunity, but basically I distanced myself simply because no animosity. Is just what I was doing or am doing isn't really reciprocated because I had a team of interns, seven that in the last year that all came and went, and I got pushback from them, which I'm fine with. I don't know everything, but a lot of my pushback was, well, but I see on LinkedIn these people are saying this, and I see this is this, and Asp says this, and I'm like, cool. I'm a certified mentor. That's why you wanted to do this. But at the same time, I'm giving you some insight that you're not going to learn at a degree program, that you're not going to learn in the CMPC handbook. I'm not saying dismiss it. I'm just saying, hear me out too. And they all fought me on it. And that's when I said, you know what? I'm done. Because if I have people who I'm bringing on almost like a farm system, because out of seven, only one of them works with me today. And she's the one who actually accepted, you know what? Nick might have something there because I didn't hear none of this in my under or my grad program. And
What,
she's still with me.
what was the major pushback that you'd get? What wouldn't they accept?
Yeah. Since I don't have a CNPC, they assumed I was against it. And they were like, well, if you don't have it, how do you get credibility in the industry? And I would rebuttal, your credibility is built through the experiences and the contributions you do, not your certifications.
Right.
And they couldn't get over that because who are their professors? CNPCs.
Hmm.
I watched all the videos on Ash, not saying like I'm lurking or nothing, but it's social media. You're going to see what everyone's posting, and I don't unfollow. I'm like for the Titans, Coach Boone don't cut nobody, so I don't unfollow anyone. I have people I've followed for years that we don't talk, but hey, what you doing? Oh, cool. So I see all the posts, and it's just like I'm not going to compete with a whole organization when it's been indoctrinated that in order to make in this industry, you have to do the keyword have to. I don't say you have to. That's my beauty of my philosophy. I'm saying you can do whatever you think is best. But they were taught almost as if you don't have these credentials, you will not make it. And I get that there's some jobs that say you must have a CNPC. And I would debate that that should be done. But I get it. There's a ethics side of it and all that. But they kept fighting me more so on the fact that this is what's told to be done and I wasn't doing it. So it was like a contradiction to them that, yeah, I
Yeah.
believe you might know what you're talking about. I don't think they discredit me that way, but it's like it's hard for me to take it in when I see 99% of everyone else doing the opposite of what you're doing.
Right.
So yeah. So
Okay.
I can't fight that. So I literally that's the one time Nick did quit. I'm not a quitter, but I quit in that point. I'm not gonna beg anyone to do something they don't think they should do.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Blue Ocean Summit, man. Talk to us about the vision that you have, man. It's redefining performance industries beyond the horizon, man. Talk to us about it.
So that was born out of what I just explained. So it was
Yep.
born out of the fact that there's people like yourself and all the literally all the other speakers made it in a way either I'll say 50% of them are directly in mental performance, 20% are in like physical strength condition type fields, and two or three of them actually aren't in any of those fields, but they have good business acumen and knowledge that can be contributed. So the whole premise was, how could I give presentations or speakers that give those gaps that organization like ASP isn't going to teach. And it's not saying it's better or worse. It's just saying, okay, do that for the foundational stuff and come to Blue Ocean for the more, okay, how can I now use this to enhance the skills I've learned? That's really what it's about, really. It's not, I don't see it as this or that type of thing. I hope no one takes it as that. And I purposely didn't make them the same time because I'm smart enough as a businessman, not, it's like record sales, right? You don't drop your album the same day as Taylor Swift. You,
Right.
you just don't do that. So I was like, you know what? I would rather people experience that. And I know that choice isn't necessarily, oh, which one do I do? Next event or ask. I knew that wasn't going to be the case. I knew who gets the leverage. So I was like, well, it's just an addition, like anything. It's a skill set. Like for you, I know you can give so much insight for people who may like doing the one-on-one stuff, but never thought, well, I have a story to tell. I've met so many people who have a life story that is really like, why don't you share this? And that could be a whole like preface to their talk. And then they can add in the mental skills beneath it. That's what I do. I know that's what you
Hmm.
do. So it's like, but people don't think to do that. And Blue Ocean's all about finding the lane or the niche that everyone else isn't doing, but in a systematic way. And I did a webinar Saturday that I recorded and uploaded on the Blue Ocean app that shows like the references of what all this means in a more like direct way. Because Blue Ocean's not a catch-all term. It literally just means finding a lane where you can find that is uncontestable to the others. In this case, for us, it would be one-on-ones, workshops. I don't know what else. Like there might be a few more, but that's the main two: one-on-ones and workshops or
Hmm.
team sessions.
Yep.
So great, have that in your wheelhouse. I do those, but at the same time, I could do a speaking engagement. I can give you my apps. I can create apps. So I try to find whatever uncontested ocean that I can swim in. Not saying you have to be so out the box, but it needs to be something that isn't that.
No, I love it, man. Tell us
And that's what you'll
about
find at
no,
this.
it's good, man. Tell us about some of the speakers you have, man.
So I guess I start with the one and only Dr. Rob Bell. So you were the first person I reached out to, and you're gonna obviously talk about building a book of business, speaking engagements, bring your career full circle. Because I know, like you just mentioned today, you've had a lot of different things that contributed to where you are. So definitely you'll get that from your opening. We have an author, Amy Morin, who's a very well-known speaker and author who wrote a book, The 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do. And she has a whole
Solid.
series around it. And now she's making a new book. But she's going to talk more about how you can transition different types of experiences into a scalable business. Because she also does speaking, but she also has apps. So she's very similar, like our approaches. We have an individual, Chris Rose. He was just at the ASP conference with his booth. He has a business called Deliberate Practice where it takes AI to help let practitioners in our field, particularly sports psychology, used to segment their notes, get suggestions for clients. So imagine having how we're having this call, say I'm your client, and after it's done, it says what Nick said, we suggest maybe looking at this skill or looking at this talk. So he's doing some great things. So his talk's going to be about how AI can help your practice regardless of the field. So it could be strength and conditioning, could be health and wellness, could be sports psych, could be clinical psych, but using because AI gets a bad rap, I think, in it because of media and movies, it's going to take over the world and kill us all. That's what people see it as, but it's really just a tool to not limit, but shorten how things that would take you weeks to months to do in seconds. So if it's used right, it can be beneficial.
Hmm.
We also have Destin Bell. So coincidentally, you guys have the same name. This young man, I think he's in his mid 20s, so he's a young man doing some great things. He was on Shark Tank actually. That's how I found him. I saw him on the episode of Shark Tank. He made an app called Cardio. It's a running app, and I think you might like this app where you compete with your friends to take territories. So say you run 5.6 miles around your neighborhood, so they have to run that same territory but further. So they have to do 5.7, 5.8, and they capture it and you get points. So this app has hundreds of thousands of users. He got an investment from Shark Tank. He's got investment from other capital firms. He speaks as well. So he'll be one of our main keynotes as well, along with you and Amy. And there I could keep going, but I would say those are the key. But if anyone wants to see more, look at the blueoceanconnect.com. That has all the listing of all the speakers, all the agendas, all the webinars I put out for free leading up to it. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it's going to be a lot of diverse people
Oh
that
yeah.
come from, like I said, different fields. That the whole premise is not to say, oh, they're not my field directly, I can't use them. Like, no, that's the whole point of Blue Ocean. Draw from other sides and apply it to what you're doing. Because
Yep.
nothing that will be said will be unusable. I guarantee that.
Yeah. No, it's good, man. And we'll post a link on there for sure, man. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to it, man. I mean, with with that said, Nick, like my question is like what question should I be asking, man, that I haven't asked?
Um, oh, you asked some good questions. I think I've elaborated on a lot. Okay, I'll ask this to ask you to ask me is why do you think to me that more up and comers don't assimilate more to a more blue ocean mindset or more just non-traditional approach, given that they grew up in a world that me and you didn't grow up in, right? Like they grew up in a world where like one of my youngest interns I had was born in 2003.
Hmm.
Post 9/11, meaning they look at 9/11 kind of how we look at Pearl Harbor. It's like that's the generation that grew up on internet, grew up on Facebook, grew up on Snapchat. But yet most of them aren't buying into the things I'm talking about. Not saying like say, I don't know everything, but
Hmm.
you would assume the younger audience would be more prone. So why isn't that happening?
Man, good question, man. Can you take that one?
Yeah, I guess technically it was for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's two answers to this that I think. The first one I think is that the people who are in position is, and this is not only our industry. I think this is any field ever.
Right.
There's going to be a changing of the guard where the people who have been doing it for the last 10 to 30 years are the powers that be. And eventually they're going to, we can look at our economy and politics, right? The average age of most Congress people are between 60 and 80.
Hmm.
That's a problem considering not to say it like this, but they won't be here too much longer. And the things they do are going to affect me and you and the younger. So saying that the people that are in charge and teaching, yeah, there's professors that are 30, 40, 45, 50, but it's like the main narrative is the philosophy is still there from that decade or that era. And I don't think they've left yet. And the second part I think is that if everyone else isn't doing it, you're going to assume that it's wrong. And that's kind of the feedback I get because I've had people DM me on LinkedIn saying, hey, I don't like what you're saying, but I agree with it. And I'm like, wait, what? It's like, you agree with it, but you don't like how I said it. But I would joke and say, well, if you had an athlete who is striking out every time, you try to give them some insight and they say, no, I'm not doing that. And they don't want to hear what you have to say. Guess what? They're not going to get better. And I see me saying what I say on LinkedIn, not as stirring the pot, because people say I'm stirring the pot. I'm like, no, if something's not right, I need to address it because if I don't, you can't get better. And I would argue that's what's limiting the up and comers because they're not seeing enough people like me and you. Not saying we know everything, but it's worth looking into at least. I would just say that. Just look into it. You never know. Even if it's not everything, maybe it's 10% what you say, Dr. Bell. Maybe it's 5% what I say. But maybe there's something there that you can mix and match, right? That's why I don't throw out the fundamentals. I know everything a grad student knows. and then some. But guess what? I don't only do that. I have
Hmm.
things that I know they will never do. And more for me, right? I know most people aren't going to post every day like I do. I know most people aren't going to do what we're doing right now. Like you do this pretty frequently. Most people aren't going to take the time because they're going to say, well, I didn't go to school for that. Okay, you didn't go to school to be a human, but yet you do that every day.
Hmm.
So why do you negate what you're doing when it could help your career? So until these up and comers understand that the things that are more black and white are just the foundation and not the end all be all, I don't think they can get to the levels they believe they should because I've had them come through my doors, wear this shirt, and tell me that, oh, this is what I want to do. And I say, well, maybe you should look at this. And they'll say, no, this is what I'm going to do because get the degree, get a PhD. I actually asked one, I'll end my rant with this. I asked them, if I said, once you graduate with your master's, when you finish, if you could get $130,000 job a year, being the head mental coach for a pro baseball team, fresh out, because he told me his goals were more so keep going, get more education, PhD. Great. I'm fine with that. I did
Hmm.
it, didn't finish, but cool. But if I gave you opportunity to be the head mental coach for one of the largest, just say insert baseball team, would you do it? And they said no, because their plan was to do the PhD. And I'm like, okay, I get that. But when opportunity knocks, it may not knock again. And they said that, well, I'll get back to it once I'm finished. And talk about the hinge, right? You're just gonna let that door close on you? You
Hmm.
gotta open that thing and walk through it. So it's like when I hear that kind of response, it shows me that you're not living in quote unquote reality. Because reality is being good at what you do, getting opportunity to do it, and then doing said task.
Hmm.
If you think it's just to get the degree and hopefully it'll pop up, you're fairly mistaken.
Right. Yeah, well said, man. Mic drop moment there, Nick. Oh man.
It's on a
Oh, do
stand. I
we?
gotta push it over.
No, no, no. It's good, man. Man, I could share my perspective, but yeah, man, we got time for that. The Man, I really enjoyed this, man. I'm glad we got to talk about some history, man. Some baseball. Got to hit you
Hey,
with the president question. That was good, man. And I did check; it was Taft, so at least I was right on that one.
hey, I love
Oh
it.
man,
Hey, I learned something new today. I learned
yeah, it
something
was
new.
good, man.
As you know, I love to learn, so I ain't mad that I didn't know. Wait, one more thing. They need to get better, the young and up and comers, being okay with not knowing stuff.
Hmm.
That's what it takes to be better. So yeah, I'll throw that in there.
Yeah, I would always play this game of, who was that player, who was that quarterback, and it was too easy for us to search it, right? So I would be like, no, just let it come to you. It's going to come to you because it's in there somewhere. And we would kind of you disengage for a little bit, and then, oh yeah, that's right, it was Steve Young, and it would kind of come to you. Now I've kind of quit fighting that battle because the answer is right there. Like we don't need to utilize that. However, and that'll be part of like what I talk about is part of that mental muscle is creativity. You got to be creative. You got to be
Mm,
thinking, and in order to be creative, you have to be creative in all areas. And I'm not just like, because it's a skill just like anything, man. So unless you're being creative
yes.
in terms of how am I doing this, it's not going to transfer. So it's like that's the part where I look at it's, man, creativity is a skill, man. It's a learned skill. It's an important skill, and you got to be able to do it.
Yes, I do a workshop with some of the companies I work with called Creating Creativity. So,
Yeah,
see, great minds think alike because I agree 100%.
yeah, love it, man. Nick, man, I'm gonna put the links on here, of course, but appreciate you coming on, man. Glad we got to do this conversation, man. Thank you so much.